Okay, yo, let's begin. Good morning, Fabek, and good evening, I'm me. First in class indeed. And have I ever had Irish coffee? Yes, I have. Okay, so this is probably going to be the last grass-related stream in a while. I have a few things, minor things left, but after that it's in a good state and we're gonna move on, possibly to water. But let's focus on the grass today. Of course I do, I'm me, of course. So let's take a look at where it's at right now. I hope nothing has changed since yesterday. Don't think it should. We improved the ambient occlusion, we improved the visuals of it from far away. It's in a pretty good state right now. I think this popping is the worst, but it could be way worse. Maybe that it becomes a little bit too light right about here. Maybe. But what we're gonna start with today is the color of the grass edge when we have short grass. I'm gonna see if we can adjust it a tiny bit to make the contrast less visible. So for short grass and tall grass, the underlying green color is the same currently. Where do we have the character? There. Which, like for tall grass, it looks very good. For short grass, not that good. And I think using the properties we already have wasn't enough. Yesterday we got a very bad tint of the green color, I think. Oops. So we're gonna try and improve that by, unfortunately, introducing one more property, but it's a property that will be the same for all grass materials, so it shouldn't be that costly. And it's related to, we have this one. So we use this one in 3 places. One is a comment, and we have it here and here. Beautiful. So I think we can start by just renaming this one to grass tall lower color multiplier. And then we're going to introduce one more, but that's for short grass. So basically, if we have tall grass, use this ground color. If we have short grass, use this one, and then interpolate between them. Sorry if I'm a bit rusty, but how's the grass terrain going to interplay with fog if you implement it? Right now, I think we have a very... Let me just fix this one, and I can show you. So we changed the name of the tall one, so we need to redefine it. Luckily, we have this color right here. Okay. Yeah, that should be correct. Okay, so right now we have a very basic implementation of the fog for the grass. So let's try it. I'm gonna pause there and look here. I think we have the default implementation for fog for the grass, so it's just like we have exponential, and if we make this one appear, so fogs already works for the terrain and the grass, but as you can see it's in a very basic way. But should be good enough. And this line we see here is a culling related line, so it's not fog related. Yeah, so that's pretty nice. And right now it's basically, did the grass actually, oh, there we have it. Yeah, right now it's a pretty straightforward way of calculating it. So down in the fragment shader we have this simple calculation. So we rely on a Unity HLSL function, I think. Yeah. Unless, actually it might be, I'm pretty sure it's a Unity method. Yeah. So all we do is we can take a look at it. We send in the final color we have calculated for the grass, and then a fog factor, which we calculate here by another Unity function using the Z position of the positioning clip space. So Unity pretty much handles everything for us. Yeah. I wonder though, mix fog. So this means that doing it this way makes it work together with this environment fog setup, which is quite nice. Although you get an extremely, can't I see, get to the source here? Maybe not. So these settings affect the fog, but like very simple fog calculations. We actually implemented fog. I learned more about the process when we implemented the cell shade lit shader. So then I could pretty much just, here we go. Yeah, we might need to secure this one actually. Move to separate file and use this method for grass fog calculations. So something I was pretty stoked about was when we got fog working pretty good with the outlines. I think that gives a very nice, it looks very nice visually. So if we do 1000, is that big enough? Maybe. We can go 100, I think. And then we add prototype material. This one, and then we bring it this one. Then we bring it over here maybe. That's not enough. We make the outlines thinner the further away it is, and then we have a nice... okay, that's a cell shading material that doesn't use the fog, so one sec. Or actually it does, but we just haven't included it. So we have fog affecting the outlines as well, which I think is pretty nice. Gives a very nice visuals. What's up, Robert Pattinson? Oh, good luck with learning Rust. Only heard good things about it, actually. And yes, while I was making this game, while I was making the grass shader here, you made 3 small games already. Congratulations. That's still very nice. Even though they might not be very good, as you say, it's still very nice. No, I want the fog to affect the outlines, but it affects it kind of in a hacky way, to be honest. But I think it works. Like they are way more bluish than they should, but we still have them. Would you ideally want to see outlines through thick fog? May end up with a whole lot of stencils out in the distance. Like the initial implementation of the outline shader allowed for ignored fog, and I didn't really like the visuals of that. It didn't give this big object in far away visuals, so we included him in the fog as well. Like it should be pretty easy to solve if we want it the other way down the road. I like this. I think I want to feature like big what is the English word for it? Windmills in the far distance. Those generating power. I think they will work real good with fog eventually. You even get this vague outline effect here, which I don't have anything against. I think it's very nice. Depends on the look you're going for when you end up with a densely packed scene. That is definitely true. Like I think both after today, both the outline shader, cell shader and grass shader will be in a state that is acceptable for now, and then we will of course adjust them in iteration as we progress. Maybe use the fogged outlines on important objects off in the distance as map marker type of thing. That is actually a pretty interesting idea. Like, I've heard a lot about what is it called? Ghost of Tsushima? that Ninja game with nice grass, that they use the wind in the grass as markers, or like the player should run in the direction the wind is blowing. And I love that. Like, instead of having ugly UI elements on the screen, you make the world act as those. And we have a lot of those things we can play around with. Specifically like outlines. Definitely. Yeah, the scene is barren, so you're focusing on the grass. That is definitely true. But yeah, so from this point onwards, it will only be minor adjustments to the grass. But like still adjustments. But okay. So now we have... let's see here. Now we have two ground colors we can play around with. We don't use the short one just yet, so we're gonna introduce something like before we start interpolating based on distance between this one, and I need to rename this one. We're gonna do this. Float for grass lower color multiply. Do we have more of these? Okay, that's what we call this one. That's okay. And we're gonna do a lerp again, and it's going to be between grass short lower color multiplier and grass tall lower color multiplier, and the T in our case is going to be terrain data.g here, and then we use this one here instead. So now we'll have black color for short grass, and what did I forget? Oh yeah. I forgot to do this. Yeah, okay, so now we have a black color, or more towards black the shorter the grass we have, and more towards green the taller the grass we have. But that's only for the ground right now. So right now we introduced the contrast. Yeah, I want to see what we can do about this. Here, we're gonna fix that. Right, Ghost uses the wind blowing direction to indicate your next waypoint type of thing. Integrating hints into the scene in favor of UI elements is always a win. Indeed. I 100% agree. So the same thing we do here, we want to do down here as well. So we're gonna do float for grass lower color multipliers equal to the exact same thing, but for some reason here we named it, we only send in the green channel, data grass, and then we're gonna remove this one, and let's see, we want to replace this one with this one, like that, and now we should be seeing a better transition here. Robert Pattinson, yeah, the fog, or I mean the outlines still exists on objects far away, but it's being affected by fog. So instead of being pure black outline, it's fog affected basically. Wonder if I can't really remember which one it is, but this one helps for sure. So yeah, instead of having something like this, we have something like this. And like, it's a little bit of a hack when it comes to the outline being affected by the fog. All it comes down to basically is that we reduce the alpha of the outlines the further away from the camera we are. So it's actually the cell shader that does all the work. One could do it in a way more complicated way, like getting depth values of outlines, recalculating world position, recalculating clip space position, whatever, and work with those values instead, which was the initial idea, but we actually got such a good result from just relying on the cell shader fog affection and alpha, so we just left it like that. ASIC, thank you for the follow, appreciate it, and good morning or good evening. So what we want to do now is we want to play around with this value. And the question is how exactly we want to do it. Then I want to fix this triangulation issue as well, but I think that will be pretty straightforward. So let's see here. We can start by using the same color for short grass. And then, like, I don't even know if this will actually improve it or if it will make it worse. I wonder if you want to do okay, this one doesn't actually have that much control over the end result as I would have hoped. Might actually not be too bad. So it's more of a tint. Than oops. maybe a little bit too aggressive of a tint. But if we use this one together with this one, maybe. Zero 0.8, 0.08, 0.12. So it looks like this instead of looking like this. Might be a little bit too aggressive of a tint, I would say. But maybe if we just go back down here, this might be a little bit better. Good morning, Harukanan. And if we take this one, I want to copy this color. If we take this patch now and remove all grass, yeah, still want to fix the triangulation artifacts. But we can see here that it's way darker the taller the grass we have, and then we go out to a color like this. I think this is way more preferable than this. I think that's a good starting. Like this is a better result. Now let's focus on the triangulation issue we have here. Still worried about not too bad. Okay, so the triangulation issue, and this one pretty much comes down to the fact that we give vertices color, and then we send it down to the fragment shader, and we don't seem to. Yeah, we give one triangle one color, and then we use that color for the full triangle, no interpolation. The best way, like the best result, I think, would be to do read the grass color from the texture in the fragment shader, then we will get the best gradients. But I think I think it should be enough to just do some proper interpolation in the fragment shader on the color. So instead of doing interpolation on the quote-unquote UVs, we do it on... So best result I think would be to do the interpolation on the UVs and then generate the color in the fragment shader. But I think we can get away with just doing the interpolation per color as well. So let's do... It's way more apparent when we do... zero interpolation. So here we can clearly see that except for the ground here, we just use one color per triangle. What's up, Arnav? Ground color. Here we just calculate if the ground should be brown or if it should represent a line. So I don't think it's this one we want to worry about. Then we read terrain data here based on input UV. And then we read fragment color, and here we use input color RGB. If this one is bigger than, if A is bigger than 0, then we use this color. Otherwise, we lerp between ground color and input color RGB. And then we just use this one. So this is probably... Yes, okay, and this is because, okay, so the problem is I don't like this, I think. Color, yeah. So basically here we calculate a color for the full triangle, basically. I don't know about this. And we do it based on this position world space. So it's the center of the triangle, and then we give, so the three vertices making up one triangle all have the same color value, and that's why we get this triangular artifact. Like when between the vertex shader and the fragment shader, when it does the interpolation, it actually does the barycentric interpolation between three colors that are all the same, which means that, yeah, the full triangle is the same color. Good morning, Wesley. So yeah, this is the culprit. One way around it is and here we do a bad way of, we pretty much try to mimic pretty much try to mimic a one-dimensional gradient texture here with a mirror clamp type. So when we go outside of the texture to the right, we take 1 minus the remainder, and if we go outside to the left, we just do absolute value of it. So what we would like to do is to do this 3 times instead. I think we're gonna do this. I know this isn't the best implementation of this, but we're gonna leave it as is for now, and then we're gonna do I think we're gonna implement float clamp mirror. So when I finally come up with a way that is way smarter to do this, we can just change it in one place, and we will use the improved way. So we're going to do float t, float min, float max. Can we give it these default values in HLSL? I don't know. No warnings at least. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, put it in here. Although I wonder, I want it to be a little bit clearer. So this is how we do it if min is 0 and max is 1. And max, I think it's easy, right? Then we just do this instead. So for instance, if we have 1.2 and 1 is max, we want 0.8. If max is 20, yeah, it should work. The bigger question is this one. Do we actually want to do min plus I'm going to rename this one T as well. T minus minimum. Or do we want to do abs min plus T? So let's say min 0, max 1. We have minus 0.2. We still only have zero, 0.2. If we have minimum is minus 1 and we have minus 1.2, then we get 1 plus 1.2. That's wrong. But if we do Should it just be a positive mod here? Minus 1.2. Minus 1.2. Minus 0.2. Fuck, is it this we want to do? I'm pretty sure we need an absolute here. Then it becomes wrong with this one. Right? Minus 1, minus 1.2. This gives minus 0.2. So 0.2, and then we add it to minus 1, so we get minus 0.8. If we have 0 and 1, so 0 t 0.2. It should work, right? Would love to be able to mix and match, or like use the same calculations for both of these. Get the branch away. Can we honestly do... I guess we... I'm a little bit worried about this one, so we're actually gonna do... I need to test it. We're just gonna do clamp mirror float t. And we're going to use the exact same as this one. For now. So then we at least can replace this one with clamp mirror. And do it like this. The thing that is not so good, however, is that we're gonna have to do this calculation. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times per triangle. And that is pretty rough. Because we want to do it once for this vertex, this vertex, this vertex, and then we want to do it once for all of these. Let me just see if the result is exactly the same now when we have done a lot of changes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, like this thing right here, like it feels like in a lot of places in this procedural grass shader, we're doing a lot of calculations for the sole purpose of keeping the shader generic, I would say, or to keep the generality of the shader. So once, like, let's say that the exact visuals of the grass is finished, we know exactly how we want the grass to look and work, then we can probably remove, I wouldn't be shocked if it's more than like 100 lines in this shader, like 100 different calculations. And this one right here is probably a good example of what we can simplify. But for now, during tuning and testing and whatever, I want to be able to just alter float values and test and experiment easily, basically. Good morning, Desai. So we're gonna keep this one like this, and we're gonna have to do it 3 times. But that is okay. Yeah. But probably want to pack this into its own method. So we have instantiate wind properties, and then we're gonna have a float for calculate grass color. Calculate grass color, and we're gonna send in float 3 position world space. I think that's all we need to send in. Position world space. We use UV color as well. Okay. Yeah, so it's this one we want. Calculate grass color. When it comes to this method, so the geometry for the ground, we can calculate this within here. So we're gonna skip this one and calculate it in here. When it comes to creating the grass straws, we want to send it in because we are reusing. Yeah, we are reusing this color value for every vertex in the grass straw, and that's depending on fidelity. It's from 3 to 8 vertices. Something like that. So if instead of doing all of this, T-color micro, T-color macro, T-color, yeah, instead of doing all of this here, instead we just do return. Okay, it's still the same, that's good. And then we move position world space. Here is the interpolated one, so it's in the middle of the triangle. And so we want to do this. First of all, we can start by removing the color as a parameter here. And then we move to this method right here. We'll remove it from here as well. But now we have a color we use here which we haven't set. So float for color is equal to, okay, calculate grass color for position world space. Yeah, I'm starting to think we don't want to use that one. Grass origin world space. Yeah, we don't use that one anymore. But instead, yeah, we want to use input position world space. It's a little bit messy here right now, but if we take a look at it. So the first thing we do, so in the geometry shader, the input here is an array input, an array of length 3, which has domain shader output structs. So it's basically each of these are vertices with some values to them, one of them being position world space. And the first thing we do in the geometry shader is that we interpolate a new world space position by taking these 3 input world positions and interpolate them barycentric. And the barycentric coordinate here is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So this is the middle of the triangle. So we calculate a position in world space using the 3 vertices. So we get the position in world space for the middle point of the triangle. This one we have played around with a lot. We send it in as grass origin world space here to this one. Grass origin was an experimental variable which we don't use anymore. But we're gonna leave it for now. We're gonna remove it soon. But the only thing we need to know is that when we set the world position of the vertex, we have to make sure that it's the geometry, the domain shader output input world position world space we use. It's a bit messy. So when we calculate grass color here, we don't want to do it by position world space like this. We want to do it by input dot position world space. This now means that the color here is calculated based on the position in world space for the vertex, for the vertices making up the triangle, and not the center of the triangle. I think this is everything we need to do here. I want to double check this. Yeah, you can still see a tiny bit of a triangular triangulation, but it's still way better, I would say. Azaria, what's up, by the way? How do you not get overwhelmed by looking at all of this? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I become overwhelmed. But in this case, this procedural grass shader, I've pretty much I have written all of it myself, and I've made sure that I fully understand every single step, and that helps a lot. But given enough time and going back to it uncommented and not very well structured right now, I might be a bit overwhelmed. Yeah. So mostly time. And thank you so much for the sub. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Really do. Okay. So the problem we still have here is that actually don't think we have a problem. One sec. I know one problem we need to fix as well. And it's related to... Okay, so we have this calculate color. This is position world space that is in the center of the triangle. We're just going to move... I think we can move this one down a bit. Yes, we can. So, right here... Before, so this is before, or this is right after we have decided to actually render a grass straw. At this point, this is where we calculate this one, and I'm going to rename it to grass color. We'll replace this one and this one. Okay, I think it should be better now. Yeah, this looks way better than the triangulation of the color, definitely. Yeah, okay, I feel like you have to do it every day for you to ease into it. That is that definitely has something to do with it as well. Like when I started doing shaders, programming shaders, I could easily find myself in a situation where I one day had developed a full shader, maybe, I don't know, 100 lines of shader code, and then the next day when I was gonna jump into it again, I became overwhelmed. And that definitely has to do with experience, but also like knowledge. Like the less I knew what I actually was doing, the more overwhelmed I could feel, if that makes any sense. And Wesley, break each thing into smaller, more simpler things helps too. Definitely. Definitely. I find I might still be lacking in some parts when it comes to shaders compared to CPU code. I have a much easier... I find it much easier to break stuff into smaller, more simpler components when we work on the CPU than we do on the GPU. We still have these shadow issues, but I'm not too worried about those. We're gonna leave them for now. But one thing I'm very interested in is we have this variable in our grass shader that is grass offset from center multiplier. So you can see here that each grass row is actually offsetted a bit from its center. But it seems to be working. I thought that we weren't taking this offset into account when we were coloring the grass straws, but as we can see here, we actually are. I'm just gonna double check so that is the case. So when we calculate the grass color, we do it by position world space. Position world space. Yeah. Position world space, first we do an interpolation and then we do an offset of it. And it's this position world space we use to calculate the grass color eventually. So this one is the offsetted world space position. That's very nice. Okay, I think the shorter and less intensity of the grass, the more this change helped. It's still not perfect, but it's way better than it was. Way better, I think. Okay, wow. These two tasks was way easier than we finished them way quicker than I initially thought we would. Yeah, so it's basically this one, but we changed the scope of it. So yeah. And this one we have fixed as well. So I think what I'm gonna do now is I just want to make one cleanup as well. I want to clean up. I want to remove grass origin world space here. I don't think we're using that one. Azaria, that looks sick. Good stuff, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Always nice to hear kind words. What's up, Cypher? Long time no see. Time to ship? Maybe soon. A couple of days ago, I always feel bad when I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Derek over on YouTube. But someone actually opened me up to the idea of getting the terraform part of the game in place fully, like making a vertical slice that is only the terraforming part, and then releasing that to people who want to test it, just to get like early feedback. So if time to ship refers to the full game, then we're far off, but time to ship refers to only the terraforming part, maybe. Lurky boy, I appreciate it. Grass Origin World Space, let's see. We have it in 4 places. These are 3 of them, and this is the 4th one. And this, when I write shaders, this is always something I love to do. Removing something from the structure that is being sent between different stages of the shader, because the less data we have to send onward, the better. So love doing this. We can remove Grass Origin World Space. It's after T subdivision. So it's this one, right? Yeah, I think that's it. And Azaraya, sorry about the pronunciation, by the way. Do you stream every day? I try to stream every weekday, starting at 9 a.m. Central European time. And I've been doing it since the middle of January this year. Unfortunately, lately it has not been as much as I would like to, so I've been streaming around 3 hours each day. Would love to keep that higher. And unfortunately to say, I'm gonna, at this, like certain weeks this summer, I'm probably gonna have to bring it down to 2 hours each day. But yeah, at least a couple of hours each weekday, that's the goal. Definitely worth it. So the terraforming vertical slice thing, kind of like a playtest, yes indeed. Any feedback is good feedback as you develop. I agree 100%. To the second point as well, like I have this idea of how I want the gameplay to actually be during terraforming, and like it's my idea, but I'm still skeptical to it. So it includes some quick time event stuff, and I know that people don't like that kind of thing. So yeah, implementing that one and then getting the terraforming part out to players might be a good idea. Yeah. Azariah, yeah, it's around this. I've been streaming 1 hour and 15 minutes now, so I always try to start at the exact same time every day. So yeah, it will be around this time every weekday. Appreciate the support. And for the last couple of weeks we have been solely focusing on the grass shader. This is going to be the last day in a while that we work with the grass shader. And I think we're actually gonna move on to water. Yeah, so it will be a lot of planning tomorrow because I think I'm leaning towards using a pretty complicated system for my terraforming water in this game. It's going to be fun, but a lot of headbanging against walls, I think. Wesley, also everything takes practice. Definitely. Oh, nice. How do you like the split keyboard experience so far? Like, it's my understanding that it's becoming more and more popular. And I'm still on the fence. Okay, this is actually starting to come together real good. If we take a look at, if we put a lot of grass here. I'm a little bit worried about the dark green color we're getting here. Far away. That one doesn't look too good. I wonder what's the reason for that. Yeah, we want to keep that one brighter. But yeah, that's one of those things we're gonna fix later on. I also wonder... Yeah. Decide you guys feel pressure / burning sensation in your wrist while using mouse for longer times. Luckily, I don't in my everyday use. And I think I'm at the computer like 8 times a day, at least. I think I have some friends that do, and I myself have noticed it when I've been at a LAN party and like been gaming for 24 hours straight. Then I can feel the sensation you're talking about. I don't know what the English word for it is, but we have a Swedish word for it. Like there's one complications with the wrist that is highly related to computer mouse usage. Like it happens to a lot of people. Carpal, yeah, that's the English word for it. Yeah. So yeah, the quicker you let a doctor take a look at it, the better, I would say. I'm just waiting for the day when I finally, like, it pretty much comes to every person that uses a computer much in their everyday, right? First two days have been rough. Yeah, I'm probably gonna start looking into split keyboard more and more. But like something I try to do is when I'm solely programming, I try to use the mouse as little as possible. I still use it a lot when I'm solely programming. Like being able to jump around in the code base, writing code only using your keyboard, I would say that is the preferred way, but I'm having a hard time doing it. What's up, Norin Dev? Hope you're having a wonderful day so far. Okay, so what I want to do now is we're just going to do some extra cleanup here, it's mostly concerning these two. First of all, debug show grid. Going to dark white short grass. This one we have already done. We're gonna keep this one for now, but I want to rename this one first of all. Debug show grid. It's more used as a grass upper color or grass upper color amount multiplier, I would say. So that is probably what we're gonna rename it to. What is the default value we have for it? 0.5, perfect. So we're gonna do grass upper color amount multiplier. We can just get something like that, I think. Yeah. Using Vim Motion in VS Code. Is Vim Motion, is that like controlling the mouse but with keyboard buttons basically? What's wrong with a single file with 60k lines of code? And good morning, Penosa. Yeah, sure, Wesley. I allow for a lot of links. Depends on the URL, but YouTube is definitely okay. YouTube links 100% okay. Okay, so that's the bug. And then we have debug grass bottom multiplier. Do we only use it here? Fuck this. And then we can remove all of this. Okay, no change. One of two, grass color lower decrease multiplier. One thing I also want to do, I don't know if I have instancing. Implement instancing support, yeah. Properly implement instanced properties. A lot of P's. Properly implement instance properties. Yeah. Prefer to ask first. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm gonna copy that link and I'm definitely gonna take a look after the stream. Do we have any other unused variables here? Grass height to distance ratio multiplier. Oh. I'm gonna remove that one for now. The wind is also something that we're gonna rework. Oh, 17th. Oh yeah, okay. The wind implementation in this grass is also something we're going to we're actually going to re-implement it from scratch eventually, but to be able to do that we need to actually define the weather system for the game. So I definitely want to be able to support different weather, so that includes we're gonna have day-night cycle. That one will be the easier one, I think, and then we're gonna have weather systems. So we're gonna support snow, rain, storm and sunny weather. Right now it's just a simple texture, but we're gonna keep it like that. 2 times. I should probably look into VS Code, HLSL. Are they called package? $100,000 installs, 2 reviews. Shouldn't Unity have something? Maybe I'm gonna have to look into it. We will look into it eventually. What's up, DevSpiers? Thank you for the raid. Hope you had a wonderful stream as always. Arnav, by the way, do you also work on the game after the stream? I used to do it a lot off stream, but these days I haven't really had the time to do it, so right now no, but sometimes yes. Sorry for the delayed answer to the question. Yeah, I don't know if you heard me, DevSpiers, but as always, thank you for the raid, appreciate it. And Dasai, do you need to add instancing support for all custom shaders, and is it easy? I'm only talking about writing custom shaders in HLSL here, and it's my experience that you have to do it. if you want them to support instancing, but the Unity HLSL library has made it pretty straightforward. I'm still a noob when it comes to instancing in HLSL shader, but I can show you what I know so far. And in my experience, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, you too, DevSpios, you too. Let me just see if we have something else left over from Grass Rim. Yeah, this one was something I tried to implement. That we got it working, but it didn't really look that good. And so the idea here was that grass straws are thicker in the middle, I think, and thinner on the edges. So the idea here was to simulate more light shining through the grass straw at the edges than in the middle, and definitely something you probably only want to have in highly realistic grass, and you probably want to implement it a little bit nicer than this. So for our use case, it didn't really work out, and this one has just hung around. So let's finally remove it. And what more do we have? This one we use. Grass stiffness constant, yes. So this one had to do with wanting some grass straws to be, or being able to define the stiffness of the grass straw. And I think we use this one though. Yeah, we calculate stiffness right now based on a random float, grass stiffness height ratio. So we calculate the stiffness of a grass straw based on just a random float, and then also the width and height of the grass straw itself. And I think that's how we want to keep it. But this one is unused. This one we still use. And yeah. And also default texture. Yeah, these we don't use anymore. Okay, one last thing I'm gonna explain, and then we can try to implement proper instancing here. So all of these properties. So right now our grass shader supports both grass and this grid coloring. So all of these are actually just related to where we have no grass, and the rest is related to when we have grass. The next iteration of the grass shader, I would like to split these up into two different materials, but that also includes having to split up the mesh into two sub meshes. So it's a lot of work, and I don't know if it gives any. I don't even know if it gives a performance boost at this moment, but I still want to do it. But okay, let's see. Let's take a look at instancing. So something you have to do when you want to support instancing is, and I just have to say it before we dive into this, my knowledge about this is not 100%. Like, I'm still a little bit shaky when it comes to this. But it all comes down to that you want multiple objects to use the same material, therefore being able to batch them into one draw call or into less draw calls. But sometimes you still want certain properties to be different between the materials. And right now I think all of these, if not, like most of these, if not all of them, are the same for each material we render. But let's take a look at this terrain patch. We do set some of them from script, which means if these are not, I believe if these are not marked as instanced in the shader, we're not gonna be able to batch them, I think. How many draw calls do we have? Saved by batching. Let's see if we can reduce this. We can actually take a look at instancing HLSL Unity. We're gonna take this one and this one. Yes, so what we need to do is in all of these structs, also I'm a little bit, it's going to be a learning experience. I'm not 100% sure exactly how it should work with hull and domain shader outputs, but this is basically what we have done. And then for each stage we need to do set up instance ID and transfer instance ID. And then the thing we're missing right now is this one and this one. Arnav, do you know Danny? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I know of him. If I remember correctly, I think we should have proper instancing implemented in cell shade lit. Not entirely sure. Okay, so this one has to be defined. I think we already have this one. Instancing, yes. And then for each property that we know is different per instance of this material, we need to put them into cbuffer start and cbuffer end. But I guess we want to do Unity instancing buffer start and Unity, yeah. Or actually, that I cannot answer enough. I have no idea. I still think he tweets sometimes, right? Yeah, and then we want to access it. So my question then is, let's take a look here. Okay. So in our use case, we have terrain data, texture UV scale, texture UV offset, grid delta, patch line delta. These are the ones these are the only properties we set, right? Terrain data shader property, terrain data shader property. And here we do a texture shader. Yeah, okay, this is for the weather. So for all these properties we set here from the script, we need to make them, those are our so-called instanced properties. So it's around those, or we need to define them as instanced properties in the shader. Yeah, we only care about this one. And then we do this, and we do this, and then we have a property here. Although yeah, we reference, so up here we don't do anything, but we want this one to vary between materials. So when we define it here, we do this. And then when we use it, we need to do access instanced prop. And then we need to do this on the script side. Okay, it's pretty straightforward with all the macros and functions you get. This one already fixed, this one as well. We just need to do this. Okay, this is good to know. So this one we define ourselves, and based on what property block, I guess you can reference this as, you want to write this name here. Okay, let's start with this one. So I think it's these ones, but it's not all of them. This one we set in the material, and then we don't do anything else with them. These three we want. So it's this, 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 and then we have terrain mesh. We also have this one. That's okay. Terrain mesh grid delta. This one. And terrain mesh patch line delta. This one. So these two. These two. This is actually going to be a little bit of a problem. If we take a look at grid mesh delta, maybe not. Never mind. But okay, let's start with these two. So then we do let's put it like this. This name we define here, do we need it on the CPU side of things? I don't think so. This name should not. I don't think so. I hope we don't. And then we also want this one. So we want to define them as this instead, and first it's the type and then the name. So float mesh grid delta, and then it's a float mesh patch line delta. It's pretty ironic, I think, because all of these two are the same for each patch in our current setup. But that might change in the future. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so when we access these later on, we also need to do this one. And then use this name. So first of all, I want to do I want to rename this one. So this is going to be grid props. Grid properties. So when we send in this one here, we want to do this, but we also want to rename the block it's from, so that is grid properties. Like this. And then we want to do the same for, I think it was my mesh patch line delta. So we're going to take this one and put it here. So that should be these two. We still, on the CPU side of things, we still haven't set them, but we're gonna do it later. What's up, Namida? How did you learn shader programming? Initially, I learned it at university, but honestly, not that much. I think it was 2 courses over the span of half a year. I would have wished for more, but that's laid the foundation pretty much. And if I remember correctly, that was in GLSL. And then when I started doing game related stuff, like in 2017, I had this foundation to lean against. But then I learned most of it through documentation and wonderful tutorials online. And honestly, I'm still learning every day. You can see here, like, I'm not that well versed with instanced properties. So we just learn as we go. Okay, so we have those two. Let's define another one, and this one is going to be this one. So these are 3 properties related to the terrain data texture. This one and this one are in the current state also the same for all of these materials. This one is not. So this is pretty much the only property that is different between the materials. Yeah. Arnav, what are your PC specs? I get that question sometimes. Still don't know the CPU from the top of my head. But my graphics card is a GTX 1080. So pretty damn old these days. But that is probably the best graphics card I've ever had. Like, the amount of power, like, it's still relevant today, 8 years after its release. It's insane. Let's see here if I can pull it up. And my CPU, what do we have? Intel i7 67K at 4 gigahertz. 4 cores. RAM, what do we have? I think I have 16 gigabytes of RAM. Yeah. I don't know the specific properties of them, but it's 16 gigabyte and it does the job. Okay, terrain data texture. I wonder if we want to keep the sampler in there as well. I think so. So we're just gonna put all of this into one block. And we're gonna name it terrain data properties. I'm a little bit ooh, I wonder. Yeah, we're gonna have to do a Google on this. So when we define the instance properties, we need to define the type. I don't actually know what this macro returns. John, you're kind of on the low to mid-range there. Yeah, these days I am. But it's a pretty good feeling when you develop the game to know if I can make this game run, like if I with custom terrain and terraforming and this grass can make it run this good on my hardware. Like as long as I can make it run good on my hardware, I should be pretty good to go. Like it allows for a wide variety of hardware to run the game. And Arnav, is your game idea like Pokemon? Not really. More like Viva Pinata / Tamagotchi / Chow Garden. That's some damn nice progress, Wesley. Looking forward to the day when you go beyond the previous. That's gonna be nice. Let's see here. Unity HLSL instance texture property. Ooh, legacy. I like legacy. Yeah, I wonder if it's a sampler 2D. Whoa. Is that actually how... Okay, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna be a little bit messy. Even on par is great. Okay, that's good. "80 words per minute." Isn't that quite quick, actually? I just had to do a second take. I think it's way quicker than me, at least. Fuck, so I rely on these. Let's see here. Texture 2D. Unity HLSL. What does it do? Using sampler states. Texture. Yeah, I wonder if I want to jump to using a sampler 2D instead. If we use a sampler 2D, it should probably be easier. Sampler 2D, Unity. So we define it like this. And then we need a sampler state, and we do it like this. I think the problem lies later on when we use this one. We do it with sample texture 2D LOD. Let's see if we can rewrite this one as texture 2D. And then we use texture 2D. Sampler state, sampler. Texture dot sample with LOD Unity. Not shader graph, but sample texture 2D LOD. Actually, can I still rely on these? Terrain data texture. Maybe we can still rely on these, even though we have redefined. So we use this one instead. Let's take a look. Yeah, and we need to get them the correct way as well. Loons Bandit, what up, what up? Well, yeah, average is 40 words per minute. Damn. Okay, so twice the average. That's pretty decent indeed. Terrain data properties. Okay, let's access these the correct way. So we want to do, anytime we do this, we want to do Unity access instanced prop. So that's here and here. And did we call it terrain data properties? And then we want to do it here as well. And then we want to do it here, and we want to do it here. Like this, and that's one place where we do it. And then we do it here as well. That's those two, and then we want these two as well. And I think that should be all the cases. Fuck. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, we do it up here as well. Yeah, probably want to put this into a method eventually. So we actually read this texture 3 times in the full shader pipeline, but it should be okay. Okay, so this is how we should set it up. I'm just a little bit worried about this one and this one still. Sampler array index must be a literal expression at line 382. What am I missing? And this issue, we get it Is it the sampler that is the problem? Unity HLSL texture instanced property. Yeah. Is it... Fuck. Okay. This is very unfortunate. I think we could still make it work with texture erase. One sec. Yeah, this is what we have done in the past. I just think... Fuck. This fact is a big blow, I would say. Because if we do this approach, so that means that on the CPU side of things, we pack every terrain data texture into a texture 2D array, and then we send that one down to every shader. I just wonder if that the net gain from doing that might not really be a gain, because I wonder how it works with culling and stuff like that. And if we have taken, I don't know. If we up, maybe. I don't want to do this. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, loading and unloading them if we have them in one array. Yeah. Maybe I jumped the gun a little bit on the instancing of the terrain here. It's mostly, if we take a look at environment, we take a look at the terrain base here. We're currently resolution 256. That's pretty small. We have a subdivision constant of 4, so 2 to the power of 4, 16, 256 divided by 16. Each of our terrain data textures are actually, with the current... What's up, Peach? Appreciate it. With the current setup of the environment, each of our terrain data texture is actually only 16 times 16 pixels. That's basically nothing. So that means if we pack them all into a texture array or a 3D texture, we get a 3D texture that is 16 times 16 times 16. 96, which is, I would still call it extremely small. And if we do it like this, when we generate the terrain in the terrain base function, we can pretty much generate this texture. So we generate a texture array that has 16, a length of 16, and each index in that array has a 16 times 16 texture. And then we send that texture array down to the shader using instanced properties, and then we can make the terrain work in a nice instanced way. We can probably batch it. But this is probably also one of those things that I probably want to hold, much like the weather, we probably want to hold off on this one until we're closer to the final properties of it. So what I'm saying is, if we get to a point where we have entirely defined the resolution and dimensions of the terrain, and we notice that this definition only results in a texture, a 3D texture or texture array similar to this, then we can start looking into instancing it. But at this state, I think it's jumping the gun. Because let's say that we implement it, and yeah, we do get some batching, and it's a little bit quicker, but then the game design forces us to, I don't know, double the height map resolution here. So then all of a sudden we have 32 times 32 times 16. So then we have a texture that is big. Still not that big, honestly. 1024 times 1024. Yeah, definitely. But let's say that we have 16 times 16 patches and we have a terrain data texture that is 1024 times 1024. Then, or actually that's not true. 1024 times 1024 times 16. 16 million. What do we have? 4,000 times 4,000. Yeah, that corresponds to a 4K texture, right? Still not that bad. Yeah, I still think I want to hold off on it. So we're gonna do this, which hurts. But sometimes it's like that. Yes, we're gonna keep it like this, and then I'm actually gonna do this. Let's see here. Implement terrain data texture. Implement terrain shader instancing. Implement terrain shader variety. Yeah, we're gonna put this in its own issue. Of what do we have? 32. $83. The main problem is that instancing of textures has to pack all the textures to an texture array or 3D texture to be able depending on the terrain base setup. Yeah, let's just hold off on that one. And then I'm gonna do, let's see here. I want to commit the changes here, and then in this version we might as well remove everything related to this, because we're basically not using it. So we're gonna commit its current state, because I've done a lot of changes. And then we're going to remove these from this version. It's a little bit unfortunate. So it's this one. This is the main culprit for this not working. And there's pretty much no way around it other than packing all of these into an array and then accessing different indices in that array based on some instance index. Yeah, unfortunate. But let's see here. We have cleaned it out. We have improved color for short grass. Remove triangulation artifact. Improve colorization of ground based on terrain data. And cleaned it up. Yeah. So let me just commit this real quick. Which shader are we currently using here? We're using procedural grass terrain material. Okay. Unused properties. Okay, sorry about that. I wonder though how much does this actually affect our current solution? And in every stage of the shader we do this as well. So set up instance ID and transfer. And then when it's finally time to implement instancing, then we just grab this version of the shader. And we should already have these in place. Yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. Oh, we don't do transfer here. That's weird. It's still okay. What's up, Night Void? How are we supposed to get characters to move with the new input system? What Unity version are you on, by the way? So currently I use the new input system, and so far I would say I'm pretty happy with it, actually. Haven't had any major problems with it. But I use it in, maybe not, I use it in a little bit of a unorthodox way, I would say. So like most examples I've seen of it actually have the new input system tied into the actual components doing the movement, but I have this abstract layer between those two. So I have a singleton input handler that works with the new Unity input system and triggers event based on those inputs. But basically we can take an example here, the best example in my use case, I would say. So first of all, I have an action references variable, player input as well, but so this one I would say, so I get my input action that is tied to the mouse movement, so this is controlling the camera, and then I enable it, and anytime it's performed I call this method. And the reason I do this is because I have some custom post-processing to the input here, and so I get the input action, which is very typical for the new input system, context. So I read the value here and then I transform that value based on some things, and then I invoke my own event. So I don't know if this is the best example of it. It's a little bit more complicated. Honestly, the feeling I get from this new input system is that it's very I think it minimizes the the steps you have to take to support multiple different input types. Basically, jumping from keyboard and mouse, in my case to a controller, is pretty damn straightforward. And when it comes to add input remapping, I haven't really been down that rabbit hole yet. That I wonder myself. So this is pretty much my, what is it called, input action map or whatever. I think it's pretty nice. It took some time getting used to, but from there on it has been pretty easy. I think like the best resource is just this one when it comes to the new input system. So just Unity's official. They have a lot of examples. They talk about everything. This is one of those cases where the Unity documentation is extremely good. What's up, E-Dragon? Long time no see. Are you referring to my tabs? I think this is few tabs, isn't it? Basically, there must be a way to dynamically alter the table somehow, right? Yeah, I think so. I haven't really, like, in this game, eventually, I want to support remapping, total remapping. But I haven't looked into it just yet. New input system. Remapping in game. Oh, do they actually also include a rebinding UI? That's pretty damn cool. Eventually we're gonna deep dive into this. Okay. Like this one also in the documentation. How do I ? Create a UI to rebind input in my game. Perform interactive rebinding. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. Very interesting. Night Void, no problem at all, and thank you for the follow, and good luck with the new input system. Like, I remember it being a little bit of an uphill battle in the beginning, but the Unity documentation is good. E-Dragon, I'm all good. Bruised/broken rib. The fuck, man? Hope you're doing alright anyway. How did it happen, if you don't mind me asking? You don't have to answer. And me myself is doing pretty good. Been fighting this cold for a few weeks, but other than that, I'm all good. Peach, I love getting sidetracked. Drama, what's up, by the way? So Rewired is a asset use only for rebinding stuff, or was doing leg press and put my knee on my rib cage and it snapped. Holy shit, that's hardcore. Damn. Input handling in general. Okay, might take a look. I'm one of those that are very scared of third-party assets, but if it's good enough, I'm no stranger. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done with this shader. I think it's in a good state. I used to be scared of assets as well, but some of them really are a time saver. Yeah. Yeah. E-Dragon, what's on today's agenda? So, or agenda? I don't know. Unfortunately, we're pretty much close to the end time of this stream. I have to run real soon. But the agenda was to finish up the polish on the grass shader, which I think we did. We did this one and this one. And like the goal was to get the grass shader into an acceptable state so we can put it aside and start worrying about other stuff starting tomorrow. Way more complicated stuff, I think. Yeah. We're gonna start with water related stuff tomorrow. And a part of that is going to be a water shader. Definitely. But the biggest part of it is going to be semi-dynamic water together with alterable terrain. So let me just go through this real quick. Checking a box is always super nice. Yes, indeed. So initially, I had this idea to handle water in a very easy way for the garden. So it would pretty much only be, we terraform, oops, we want to terraform downwards. We terraform it like this. Now we have a pretty conservative min and max height, so it's not that visible. But we terraform the terrain like this, and when we get down to a certain level, water will appear. So it all comes down to pretty much having underneath our terrain we have a plane, and that plane is the water. That's all we have to do with that solution. That would lead to anytime we dig deep enough, we will eventually get to water. Very easy, very straightforward. But also boring. So what, like best case scenario, the best system I want to be able to support, if I'm gonna be able to implement it, is that the user digs a hole, maybe like this, and then in some sort of mechanic the user can click here and tell, like, this should be water in here, this amount of water. And then we're gonna need to do a lot of complicated calculations to figure out where the water edge will be. So we're gonna have to deep dive into the, no pun intended, we're gonna dive into the terrain data texture, and we're gonna have to do some mathematics and some what are they referred to? I don't know, some type of step algorithm that is gonna be, okay, the user clicked this pixel. Is the pixel in each direction higher up or lower down? So we're gonna have to calculate where the water rim will go, and when we have that in place we can spawn a mesh that will be the water here. I don't think we will have drowning features. And the thing with this system then is that we can, for instance, have a puddle here that is filled with water, and then we can lower the ground here, and this is not water. So the water is constrained to this one. And then if we choose to do this, we're gonna have to recalculate, because now the water in here is gonna be able to flow into this one. Yeah, I think that's the type of water system I would like to feature in this game. And then together with a gradient texture, so we're gonna pack that into the terrain data. We always know in what direction the water flows, which enables so many nice gameplay stuff in the game. So we pretty much go from a static water system which only supports lakes at certain heights, to a system that supports dynamically creating rivers, basically. But yeah, I still say best case scenario, because I'm not entirely sure I will be able to implement this system in the way I want. So yeah, it's still nice that we're gonna have something to, we're gonna have one system that we can lean back on if we can't get this to work. Yeah. I just want to support, I want to be able, like, I want the player to be able to customize his or her garden a lot. But yeah, it's gonna be one hell of a task. Does this gameplay makes sense. I think so. So yeah, tomorrow is probably going to be a lot of planning concerning this system and the general definition of how it will work. But yeah, as far as this terrain procedural grass shader goes, I think we're done with it. For now. Like, it still has some issues. I think the main one being how we render it from a distance. Let's take... The last thing I'm gonna do today is we're gonna take a look at how the current state of it looks if we do... if we minimize the max distance here to 50. Yeah, I still think it's a little bit too dark at the furthest distance. But yeah. I'm still very happy with the visuals of it and the performance as well, actually. It's not too bad. But yeah, I think I'm ready to set it aside for now. But that's it for today. I need to run and do some other stuff, as usual. But I will be back tomorrow, and we're gonna start a new chapter. The water chapter. I'm both looking forward to it, and I'm also a little bit scared, honestly. But I think we can make it work. Fluffy Zombie, thank you, appreciate it. This is one time I might just touch grass. Yeah, thank you. Take care, you two, E-Dragon, and good luck with the rib. Yeah, so as always, thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate it. And have a great rest of the day. Peace.